On July the 12th of 2017, police were called to a hotel in Clearwater, Florida, for a report of a naked woman refusing to leave the premises despite being asked to do so by staff. Responding officers encountered 25-year-old Brenissa Dominguez, still unclothed. The Mexican-born Instagram model was given a towel with which to cover herself, but instead whipped it at a policeman. She then allegedly kicked 3 officers and tried to bite and spit on another. After she was eventually restrained, Dominguez was arrested on charges of trespassing, resisting an officer with violence, and battery on a law enforcement officer. Though she was initially brought to the county jail, she was freed after posting a $10,000 bond in an Instagram post uploaded after the incident. The model wrote, "Times may be tough, but I always come through with a smile." Dominguez, who had about 80,000 Instagram followers at the time of her arrest, has increased her following to nearly 700,000 accounts as of February of 2024. Number 7. May Anderson. Miami-Dade Airport police received reports of an unruly passenger on board Martin Flight 643, which departed from Amsterdam on April the 20th of 2006. Officers awaited the plane's arrival at Miami International Airport. The passenger in question, former Sports Illustrated swimsuit model May Anderson, allegedly struck a member of the cabin crew while acting belligerent and refusing to cooperate. Immediately after touching down in the States, Anderson was taken into police custody. The 23-year-old was screened for alcohol and other substances at Jackson Memorial Hospital before being moved to the Miami-Dade County Jail. She faced charges of simple battery, resisting arrest without violence, and disorderly intoxication. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection spokesperson announced that Anderson was being denied entry into the country and would instead be rerouted back to the Netherlands on the next available flight from Miami. Number 6. Heather McCartney. During the grand final of the Australian Football League in 2014, a swimsuit model sparked controversy by removing her clothes in clear view of other spectators. Scottish expatriate Heather McCartney was in one of the corporate boxes at Melbourne Cricket Ground, where the final match between the Hawthorn Hawks and Sydney Swans was taking place. The model, at the time in her mid-20s, was photographed in the nude, and the story subsequently went viral. Though some applauded the woman's daring display of self-confidence, others found the stunt detestable and irresponsible. It later emerged that at the time of the scandal, McCartney was going through some serious health issues. She'd recently been treated for aplastic anemia, a cancer of the blood. Speaking with Daily Mail Australia, the model later called the revealing stunt a bucket list moment, adding, "I could have been dead a week later, so I thought, why not?" McCartney also stated that the incident was part of a bet in which she'd promised to strip naked if Hawthorn won the match, which they did. In March of 2016, she learned that she was pregnant with her daughter while her cancer was still in remission. Fortunately, the child survived, prompting McCartney to call her a miracle baby. In the years that followed her stunt at the AFL Grand Final, she continued to model on occasion, but reportedly refocused her efforts on raising her daughter. During an interview in December of 2021, McCartney revealed that she still had no regrets about her headline-grabbing incident from 7 years prior. Number 5. Dustin Mcneir. On November the 20th of 2019, police in Charlotte, North Carolina, were told by a 21-year-old woman that she was attacked by her boyfriend, Dustin Mcneir. The latter initially rose to prominence as a contestant on America's Next Top Model back in 2015. After finishing in 7th place in the competition, Mcneir reportedly shifted his focus towards bodybuilding. The 22-year-old's partner told law enforcement that on November the 8th, he attacked her. The couple had gotten into an argument after Mcneir saw a screenshot of the young woman's ex-boyfriend on her phone. The former model eventually resorted to violence, allegedly pulling the victim's hair and snatching her keys away from her, slicing her finger in the process. According to the young woman's testimony, she was also kicked in the chest when she tried to retrieve her phone. Though she sustained only minor injuries in the scuffle, her iPhone was reportedly damaged. Mcneir was charged with 1 count of assault on a female and 1 count of injury to personal property. He was held in custody on a $500 bond before being released. Number 4. Modu Adams. In September of 2023, British Instagram model Modu Adams from London went on a trip to Peru, landing in the city of Cusco on the 19th. In addition to being a popular tourist destination, Cusco, located in the country's southeast, has become notorious for supply pickups by drug smugglers. Throughout his international excursion, 25-year-old Adams documented his travels on social media. He uploaded pictures of himself as a seemingly inconspicuous tourist in Cusco, as well as on the road to Machu Picchu. However, what the model's TikTok and Instagram followers didn't know was that in reality, he'd flown to Peru in order to get his hands on cocaine, which he planned to smuggle back to London. Adams posted his final picture to Instagram on September the 30th. As it would later come to light, that was the same day he was arrested by Peruvian authorities while passing through Jorge Chavez International Airport on his way back home. Adams had his bag searched. Officials discovered over 6 pounds of cocaine in the young man's possession. Reports indicated that Adams had taken another trip to Peru earlier that year and would have been paid roughly $7,500 for completing the drug run. He was sentenced following a fast-track trial that took place the day after he was taken into custody. Adams was forced to give up his lavish lifestyle, much of which he would regularly flaunt online, in favor of a stint behind bars. Number 3. Patricia Perez Gonzalez. To the outside world, Miami model Patricia Perez Gonzalez and her boyfriend Alberto Compagnani appear to be nothing less than a bona fide power couple. 26-year-old Perez Gonzalez would regularly post pictures online showing off their vacations to exotic lands, high-end vehicles, and other items indicative of wealth, including designer clothes. Between December of 2014 and January of 2016, the couple's high-flying lifestyle seemed to reach its peak. However, in early 2016, law enforcement began looking into their dealings more closely. Police searched multiple Miami residences linked to the model and her boyfriend, discovering evidence of a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme that primarily targeted elderly victims. Authorities found dozens of fraudulently obtained credit cards, forged IDs, and driver's licenses, as well as a credit card encoder, blank cards, and several cell phones labeled with victims' names. Perez Gonzalez and Compagnani had reportedly racked up $2 million in fraudulent credit card charges. They used the phony cards they obtained to purchase a Rolex watch, racing bikes, ski gear, Chanel bags, and other designer clothing and accessories. The pair were arrested on charges of grand larceny and identity theft. They were held in custody on a $500,000 bond. Compagnani pleaded guilty to both offenses and was consequently sentenced to between 2 and 6 years in prison. Meanwhile, Perez Gonzalez admitted only 1 count of 4th-degree grand larceny, for which she was given no jail time. Instead, the model, who became a dental hygiene student following her arrest, was granted a conditional discharge. Today's topic was requested by Curtis Johnson 9910 and Rebecca Lee Gabbard. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Dean Kelly. 52-year-old Dean Kelly, a former male model, was arrested in New Orleans on severe allegations in December of 2023. Local law enforcement announced that the man's arrest stemmed from accusations by a woman whom he'd met on a dating app. She claimed that Kelly used a fake profile to match with her before allegedly assaulting her. He was brought to the Orleans Parish Justice Center on a $1.1 million bond. The arrest marked the latest in a string of legal troubles for Kelly, who first rose to fame in the mid-1990s. He portrayed a shirtless farmer in the music video for the popular Aerosmith song Crazy, alongside Alicia Silverstone and Liv Tyler. Kelly later made headlines after he was accused of 2 separate assaults on teenage girls in 2005. He was charged with felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile and second-degree kidnapping, among other serious offenses, and ultimately entered an Alford plea. Then in 2014, he faced similar accusations, which led to him receiving a 10-year suspended sentence and 5 years of probation Following a probation violation, Kelly was sent to prison and was later charged for trying to orchestrate the murder of a former New Orleans district attorney. He pleaded guilty to threatening a public official and was given another suspended sentence plus probation. Kelly was finally released from prison during the summer of 2022. As of the latest developments, his most recent criminal case was still pending. Stick around if you didn't yet see our video about Charlotte Lindstrom, a high-profile model who got arrested for trying to hire 2 hitmen in order to help her boyfriend avoid time in prison. Number 1. Kelly K. Green. On February the 2nd of 2020, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers faced off in Super Bowl 54 to determine the champion of the NFL season. During the hard-fought contest, which concluded with an 11-point Chiefs victory, an Instagram model left her fellow spectators in shock by streaking onto the field. As shown in photos and videos that went viral after the game, 27-year-old Kelly K. Green stormed onto the field and flashed her bare backside to the fans. Security personnel swiftly intervened, tackling Green to the ground and concealing her from view of the crowd. As she was being escorted off the field by police officers, the model pulled up her dress, once again revealing her bum. According to the local press, Green jumped over the stadium's northwest railing in order to gain access to a restricted section of the field. She was charged with trespassing and booked at the Miami-Dade County Jail on a $1,000 bond. Green later posted her antics to Instagram and tagged Vitally Uncensored, which advertised itself as hosting the wildest topless pranks, stunts, and challenges around the world. In the incident's aftermath, Green's popularity on Instagram skyrocketed, and as of February of 2024, she boasted over 1 million followers on the platform. During a follow-up interview in 2023, Green indicated that she performed the daring stunt because it was a chance to increase her public profile, adding, "I saw an opportunity to capitalize, and I saw the power of virality." In lieu of jail time, Green was ordered to complete a program in connection with her criminal charge. Number 9. Who is Charlotte Lindstrom? According to some of the recent reports, Charlotte Lindstrom is living a quiet life in Sweden, her native country. Other sources claim she's changed her name and is still receiving death threats as a result of her former life. Since 2007, her story has been heavily featured in the media, both in Australia and Scandinavia. This is because of her relationship with ecstasy kingpin Stephen Spal, and steps that led to her being charged of conspiracy to commit murder. Through the scandal that followed, their love affair made headlines around the world and concluded with Lindstrom testifying against Spal after almost wasting away behind bars. Number 8. Who is Stephen Spal? The son of a suburban migrant family, Stephen Spal's story really took off towards the late 80s. At the time, the young Italian-Australian, who had a self-taught knack for mechanical engineering, got a job fixing luxury cars in Los Angeles. He was convicted in 1989 for running a stolen Porsche racket and sent to Avenel State Prison. From that point on, his life read like the events of the hit TV series Breaking Bad. While in Avenel, Spal met a Dutch chemical engineer named Igor. In the beginning, Igor taught Spal how to survive the gang stabbings in the prison yard. As time passed, Igor revealed that he'd gotten into cooking ecstasy after his wife died of cancer. He reportedly did it to care for his daughter Emily, who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Igor was sent to prison after the DEA kicked his door down and found him cooking about 200 pounds of the drug. After Igor's sister told him that he could no longer care for Emily, he made a pact with Spal. Igor would teach him how to make and sell drugs, and in return, Spal would take care of Emily with the money he earned. Over the course of the next 18 months, Spal became Igor's student and learned how to make ecstasy from precursor drugs like pseudoephedrine. By the time he was extradited back to Australia, he was no longer a car thief, but an ecstasy cook eager to put his knowledge to practice. Number 7. Becoming an ecstasy kingpin. After his release from prison, Spal used what he'd learned to become an ecstasy kingpin. He made good on his promise to take care of Igor's daughter and would frequently send money to his sister. Vero was a hands-on cook who built gigantic reaction vessels, which were used to produce copious amounts of pure ecstasy. His business really took off once he learned how to make pills from an unwitting legal vitamin producer whom he met in Amsterdam through Igor's sister. He built new reaction vessels, bought pill binding powder and pill presses capable of producing 7,500 pills per minute. By 2001, the drug trade had earned him a $23 million profit. The fact that his business had grown so quickly without detection from law enforcement made him feel untouchable. By his own account, he fell in love with the adrenaline. However, the true highlight of his operation was achieved when Igor got out of prison. Igor asked Spal to meet him in Shanghai, where a Chinese company was willing to part with a 550-ton stockpile of precursor chemical. Once in the warehouse, Spal claimed he felt like the boy in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He and Igor calculated and deduced that from the stockpile they'd be able to make 3.5 billion pills and earn a profit of $21 billion. The majority of the chemicals were shipped by Igor to Switzerland, but Spal managed to import enough to Australia to make 11 tons of ecstasy. He would ship millions of dollars to China by stashing the money in foam boxes of live lobsters. When Charlotte Lindstrom became part of Spal world, he was one of the biggest ecstasy manufacturers of the day. Number 6. How did Lindstrom and Spal meet? In 2002, Spal owned a club in Sydney called Minx, where he laundered his drug money. At the time, Lindstrom was a backpacker from Sweden, working as a part-time model and hostess for the exclusive Hemisphere nightclub in Sydney. She met Spal 18 years her senior, in 2003 during an interview for a job at Minx. The romance took off quickly, and it wasn't long before Lindstrom learned that her boyfriend was a large-scale drug manufacturer. This, however, wasn't a hindrance in their romantic relationship, which was characterized by a life of opulence and excess. Number 5. Living the high life. With Spal by her side, Lindstrom would know a glamorous life complete with fast cars and extravagant yacht parties. They lived in a $3 million waterfront property decorated with Chinese antiques. At their home, Spal hosted all-night parties where he served punch spiked with ecstasy. As a model, Lindstrom loved to design the dresses and lavish jewelry, and Spal spared no expense in making sure she was happy. In their subsequent prison letters, they both made reference to the fairy tale they wanted to live together, yet their lifestyle was all founded on Spal massive drug operation, which soon came under heavy investigation. Number 4. End of the fairy tale. In 2005, one of Spal shipments was intercepted. His assets were seized and he was charged in connection to drug distribution. While on bail, he tried one final drug reaction, which he later claimed was the largest ever attempted up to that point. It involved 1/2 ton of chemicals which produced an ecstasy pile measuring 3 feet in height. The process was too much for the reaction vessels to handle, and a fire broke out at his Riverstone factory in the suburbs of Sydney. As he fled the factory in a panic, he left an important clue behind in the form of his Louis Vuitton sneakers. By then, the authorities had bugged his house and car. They also had 2 key witnesses. They arrested Spal, but only charged him for the scraps discovered at the Riverstone factory, almost 100 pounds of ecstasy. Number 3. Hitman Contract. The Hitman Contract represented Lindstrom's transition from model to criminal. The testimonies from the 2 witnesses reportedly had the potential of putting Spal behind bars for life. While at the Metropolitan Remand and Reception Center, Spal allegedly met another inmate who offered to kill the witnesses for a price. He phoned Lindstrom from prison and instructed her to meet with a hitman and pay him to make his problems disappear. They agreed upon a price around $82,000 per hit. The police were tipped off that the lives of the witnesses were in danger, but by that time, they already had Lindstrom under surveillance. In one of her phone conversations, she mentioned that she wanted them to be taken to the cemetery. It was the break in the case the authorities had been waiting for. The supposed hitman that she met up with in May 2007 was actually an undercover police officer. As captured by several CCTV cameras, Lindstrom was arrested May the 26th on conspiracy to commit murder. She'd be the only one convicted on that count, as Spalavero's lawyers maintained that she'd acted on her own, motivated by love. Spalavero, along with 2 other defendants, were found not guilty in the murder plot. In the years since the Hitman Contract, public opinion has usually been mixed. Some, including a judge on the case, stated that Lindstrom was naive, that she romanticized her relationship with Spalavero and was manipulated by him. Others believed that she was familiar with his business, that she acted in cold blood, and knew exactly what she was doing. Number 2. Lindstrom testifies against Spalavero. On the inside, life wasn't easy for Lindstrom, a beautiful woman. She caught the unwanted attention of other inmates who sought to take advantage of her. She developed anorexia on the inside and was slowly wasting away. She eventually made a deal to testify against Spalavero at his drug trial in return for a reduced sentence. In one of the letters she wrote to him in prison, Lindstrom said, "I've tried to block you out, but I can't. The truth is, I still love you with my whole heart and soul." She added, "But the only person who can help me now is me. I'm not prepared to spend 5 to 8 years in jail for something I did for love." She was also concerned for her safety, as she was reportedly receiving death threats. Images which made headlines around the world in 2009 showed Lindstrom arriving at Spalavero's trial wearing a bulletproof vest and only weighing around 80 pounds. Number 1. Life after prison. Spalavero and Lindstrom were reportedly still in love when they went to prison and continued to write letters to each other. However, it didn't last, and Lindstrom made parole on May the 25th, 2010. For the crime of trying to have people killed, she only served 3 years in prison. The very next day, she was deported to Sweden, where she reportedly lives under an assumed identity. The once loving couple would cease to communicate. Spalavero wrote 2 books in prison. One was a memoir expose called Pills of God, dedicated to Lindstrom, which also contained some of the letters she had written him in prison. The other was called Narco X and described how he became an ecstasy kingpin, that his operation dwarfed that of the fictional Walter White, and that the chemicals used to make ecstasy are much more dangerous than those used to make methamphetamine. For his drug-related crimes, he spent 11 years in prison. He was released in 2017 and, according to the latest reports, has kept away from narcotics. He was also committed to building a life alongside his new girlfriend, model Chelsea Coates, whom he met on Tinder.
Thanks for watching. If you could have the looks of a supermodel but your voice was changed to an embarrassingly shrill pitch, would you do it? Let us know in the comments section below.